Don't let the thing go sideways. And so I have no good excuse as to why. So if any of you are from around here and you made some long journey to Phoenix, I don't know the exact miles of that, thank you. And I'm glad I'm able to jump off your lap here this evening. So there's that. Thanks. And here's this thing that I wanted to tell you. It's really boring, but it's really short. And I've been doing a lot of thinking. And I'm not here to bash America, it's not really of my interest. But I am curious as to why America works the way it does, like what our basic mechanic is. And I find this very, very interesting to me. I was born in 1961, I'm 51 years of age. And in my time, I've not seen things change that much. Things here and there, yes. But on the whole, America's number 46th in literacy in the world. For the greatest industrialized nation under the sun, it's fairly appalling. And so I wondered, why are we the way we are? Like, why do we have these sticking points? And with the election of Barack Hussein Obama, I love saying the word Hussein because when I do, people's heads in Kentucky explode. I'm just kidding, they're nice too. But it made me look at America in a different way. And so by doing a lot of reading and a lot of meager attempts at connecting the dots, for you, you came up with your ideas about this like 8 light years before me. I'm slow to everything. And so here's just a brief bit of history in America as I see it. I think the big rift, the big problem, 1861, the Civil War. 1865, it comes to an end. 1865, 1868, and 1870, as you know, the 3 Reconstruction Amendments are ratified into the Constitution, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. 13th, abolishing slavery. 14th, federally mandating equal protection under the law. And the 15th Amendment making race no longer a bar to voting. That is to say, non-white men could vote. Of course, women had to wait until 1920 with the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which just shows you that America had a race problem, but its misogyny problem was even bigger than its race problem. And in those days, there are people who backed up their reason why they did not want women to vote. And I've read up on that too, because in this point in 2012, to tell a woman she can't vote, you just can't convince any woman who's awake why that's a good idea. No woman in this building tonight could walk out going, you're right. You're right. Oh, thanks. I mean, this wouldn't work, right? Because we're in a different place historically. But in those days, and I read about this, what was the rationale for not allowing women to vote? And the women who did try and vote, like Susan B. Anthony, they locked them up. Anyway, the rationale was the women are the noble keepers of the house. Basically, like, shut up, procreate, and make meatloaf. But mainly, shut up. Because you don't go outside much, so you don't have a real opinion about things, so you don't know. And women, of course, are often teachers. They were raising young Americans to become the wonderful pillars of society that they eventually became. And so things turned around. So anyway, 1865, what happens? The end of the Civil War. Millions of proto-African Americans, slaves, are all of a sudden turned loose and basically said, you're free. Well, explain freedom to me. I don't have to explain anything to you. I just want you to get off my farm. I no longer own you. And so these proto-African Americans, ex-slaves, wandered about into cities all over America. Many of them were illiterate. And so what you had all of a sudden, very violently and very, very explosively, was freedom, but not opportunity. And so in the year of 1875, there was a thing called the Civil Rights Act of 1875, which is a bit of interesting American trivia. It was knocked down by the Supreme Court in 1883, saying it was in violation of the 14th Amendment. And so America goes almost a century without a Civil Rights Act. In 1964, as you know, famously, Lyndon Baines Johnson signed into law the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which was violently and loudly protested by the Southern Bloc, basically the lower half of America. And Richard Russell, a senator from the great state of Georgia, he said very famously, he spoke on behalf of the Southern Bloc, and when he said, "We will resist to the bitter end any measure or movement which would have a tendency to bring about social equality and intermingling and amalgamation of the races in our states." Basically, we like how it was back then. We favor apartheid. Civil rights is not in our interest. Lyndon Baines Johnson famously said upon signing the Civil Rights Act of 1964, he said, "We've lost the South for a generation. some might say a little longer than a generation. And in 1965, he made a beautiful commencement speech at Howard University, local Washington, D.C. university, talking about equality and freedom. And it is a beautiful speech. It's brief. I encourage you to check it out. But there's one paragraph of it that very succinctly sums up all the blather that I've been hurling into your lap for the last few minutes. And I'm going to try and not mangle the quote too badly. He said, "This is the next and the more profound stage in the battle for civil rights. We seek not just freedom, but opportunity. Not just legal equity, but human ability. Not just equality as a right and a theory, but equality as a fact and equality as a result." And that, to me, is the crux of the biscuit, as Frank Zappa said on the Apostrophe record. That is the problem. We have freedom, lots of freedom. Freedom to throw a pie in my face, freedom to walk out of here and never come back again. But equality is the harder thing to get, because when you talk too much about equality, someone else has a conversation about socialism. And so when you say equality, that means everyone gets a level playing field and they get to toe the same starting blocks. And I think there again, that is the reason why maybe America is 26th or 46th in literacy in the world. Maybe there's an effort to keep some people not knowing so much. And I'm not here to be political with you. I'm just giving you these facts and my meager opinions derived from them. But there's a guy named Rick Santorum who